Greetings, fellow travelers, and welcome to the Way of the Showman, where we view the world through the lens of showmanship. I am your gracious host, Captain Frodo, and welcome back to a brand new episode in a brand new world. The havoc that's been wreaked by the pandemic is still having repercussions that are just flowing through all of us showfolks' lives now. All over the world, people are rethinking and redefining and restructuring their lives. The words of the poet Dylan comes to mind as he says, "Come gather round, people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth savin', and you better start swimmin', or you'll sink like a stone, for the times they are a-changing." For the foundations of what we do and who we are has been shaken by the fact that people can't gather anymore to watch shows or anything. We've talked about this a lot on this podcast, and we've talked about how our foundations have turned into water. And in this little grab from Bob Dylan's song, "The Times They Are A-Changing," we find this image as well. The image of the world turning to water and that the waters are growing. This is of course also true with the global warming. The environment is changing, so it's more apt than ever perhaps. And the reason why I'm starting straight off the bat talking about this is that some of these ramifications has hit very close to home. My family and I struggling to come to terms with this new world has had to board the showmanship. I, as the Captain Frodo of the showmanship, had to sail the family back to Norway, to the old country. As we all have been running low on resources, no doubt, in every caravan and every flat and house around the world where there's showfolk, we're all living on saved resources and savings. And once very little is coming in, that has a tendency to run out pretty quick, even when we let our daily use of resources really drop down. If nothing else, this has allowed me and my family, and I hope it has for you as well, allowed us to really understand what we actually need to live. We've had to reflect on our situation, and as it turns out, the United States and Las Vegas, Nevada, has not reacted in quite the same way that Norway has reacted to this pandemic. Regardless of what we think of any of these things, the response Norway has had to it has led to an almost complete eradication of the virus here. So we dressed up in all the appropriate safety gear as much as we could. We took all the care we could possibly muster, and we sailed across the seas in an aeroplane all the way back here, and now we are in safe quarantine at a beautiful house by a lake. It's a gorgeous place. And the shows here in Norway are actually legal, but jobs are still very rare, and precious, like diamonds. So what we are going to have to do here in Norway, as well as everywhere else, is turn up the creativity. I have lots of ideas of what I can do. It's like a brand new beginning in a sense. It's like all of my previous contacts and the achievements from before does not quite count anymore. I need to think new. I need to redo the material that I have. If I'm going to do family shows, can I bring children up? Perhaps it's legal, but I should really keep it to a minimum. So I have lots of interesting and good ideas coming up now, and it feels really quite exciting. There will be 2 essays today, both of them from the very beginning, about 2 years ago when I started blogging over at the Carnival Cinema website. The interesting things to note about them are that I am describing a time 2 years ago when I had really wanted to stay in Australia, and I put in a whole lot of effort in trying to give my family a home, a lasting home. In one of them I actually say, fingers crossed for a lasting home, but alas not. And that was the theme that was going on in my life at the time, that we were forced to move out, not entirely because we had chosen to, but because of outer conditions. Here we are now, 2 years later, and reading these for you guys, it's interesting how much the world has changed, not just in these 2 years, but even in just the last few months. For one was that I readily and unapologetically admit in the second essay that I have a sore throat and a runny nose, which today is a very scary proposition. To wake up one morning and realize that you have a sore throat might send your heart racing. There's so many things, but in so many ways this is another example of how the way of the showman sends you traveling. You make plans, as I say in the essay. The clown makes plans and the world laughs. I thought I'd found a loophole, but the loophole was patched up. Vegas as well has closed down, but who knows what the future will bear. I really hope that the best creations, the best and most vibrant creations of showmanship that I have, that they are to come in these next few times. It's a very special time, and as soon as people are allowed to gather, they will be open-hearted in a way that they haven't been for a long time. That's my hope and also my belief. I think that by rethinking a little bit what we do, we can really help make a difference in these difficult times. The first of these 2 essays that I'm going to read today is called Terms and Agreements, and it's about the terms and conditions that a showman signs when he decides to take a walk down the way of the showman. We never think about it when we first start, that this life choice might have consequences, and one of them is, of course, that you constantly have to travel. And I will go further into this, and the reason I'm bringing this up now is that some of you might remember that I talked about this in the very first podcasts called The Day That Showbiz Died. There I mentioned too this concept of the Showbiz Devil and the terms and agreements that we have signed. So in a way, this is the link between that first podcast, and this is the very first of the blog posts that I ever created for the Carnival Cinema blog. It's just over 2 years ago now. The second one of the essays is called Time Travel, and it is written just after I'd finished a 3-month-long creation and performance of a brand new circus show for families. I hadn't been performing for families for several decades, so this deals with that and how time has changed as I have gotten older. Now, the question is frequently asked, how does one become a showman? It's not like you just wake up one day and know that this is what you're going to be. There are very few of us who have that experience. For most of us, it is a gradual development, and it's an unearthing of yourself, in a way. And such was the way for me. I was invited to be in my father's magic show at an early age, and this no doubt was what set me along this path. But my sister was also included in the show several times, but did not get bitten by the bug, or did not have the passion, or as we say along the way, the world did not ignite her little candle. We all have this little potential inside ourselves, a little unlit candle for most of us, and as we go out into the world, we see things and experience things, meet people that can spark something strong enough inside us to start that little fire. And our journey along the way of the showman is what eventually makes that little fire into a burning star. That might be the star that you become, or the star that you set your course by, if you will. Now, this second essay that we are going to read today is again set in Denmark, and it was in Copenhagen that we presented the show that I describe in that blog post. That was we presented that on Amager, a suburb of Copenhagen, and in a way the very first story that my parents tell of me ever responding to a crowd was when we went on a holiday to this very famous walking street in Copenhagen. That is, we didn't go on a holiday to to that walking street. We went on a holiday to Denmark, which is very common when you live in Norway. And anyway, there was a street musician who was playing music along that street, and my parents gave me some money to go out and give to this musician. And as I walked out there and dropped these coins into the guitar case of this man, he finished a song upon which the entire audience, a circle of people around him, began clapping, and I, like I was understanding the game immediately, even though I had never done any shows with my dad at this point. I might have only been 7 years old, the same age that my daughter is at the moment. As the audience started to applaud and I was in the center, I just turned around to face them and took a deep bow. And then the crowd just laughed, and that was probably it. Maybe that was where my bug came from. There's of course a lot more to it than that, I'm sure. And we'll get to all of that in time. I think we have said enough in this preamble, and with that, it's time for today's essays. Terms and conditions. When I became a showman, I clicked, I agree, without reading the terms and conditions. I was too young to know that one must always read all the terms and conditions. I said yes to doing shows as my life and my living. Every choice has consequences. You say A, not realizing B and C are part of that decision. And so is the rest of the alphabet. Showmen with novelty acts travel. To stay novel, we must move on at the end of a season. If the novelty is gone, we are but simple acts. We are not big enough attractions for crowds to go out of their way to come to us. We must go where crowds are. Such is the way of the showman. I am now 42 years old, and so far down the way I doubt I'll ever stray. I am a showman, but I am also a husband and a father. Almost 6 years ago, after an emergency cesarean, I sat alone with a tiny 2.3 kilo girl for the first 2 hours of her life outside of my wife. I had been waiting for her for so long. Then she decided to come early. I was in the middle of directing my friend Tom Flanagan in his Kaput show when she announced her imminent arrival. The love that grew between us under that hospital blanket as I held my newborn baby against my bare chest was the most powerful bond I have ever experienced. A love that comes with great responsibility. I am on the road on a different continent than my family, and that happens a lot. I just Skyped with my daughter, and she said she missed me so much. Behind her I heard people jumping in the pool. Good friends, whom with we both share a history. She loves swimming. I have taken her swimming since she was 3 months old. Water fun is something we have shared on 4 different continents, and more countries that I can be bothered trying to mention. Despite the pool and the friends behind her, I hear a particular sadness in her voice. a sadness I have been hearing too often over the last year. Up until 1 year ago, the paramount concern for our family was being together. For all gigs I said yes to, we would factor in that all three of us would travel. Then something changed. My daughter got older. We wanted to put down roots, let the little one go to a kindergarten and then a school, let her develop sustained relationships with groups of friends. We bought a house. I took her to kindergarten, and as I dropped her off, I could feel how normal this was for everyone else, whilst for us it was strange and new and very, very nice. Our house is close to Byron Bay. It's called the Byron Shire. Frodo in the Shire. It was almost too sweet. I worked so hard on that house every day from I woke until I went to sleep in our bedroom in our own house. The clown made plans, and the world laughed. Last night, I went to sleep with a sore throat, blocked nose, and a raging jet lag, which is not as fun as it sounds. Then I awoke 5 hours later, finding a WhatsApp message saying that my daughter had been crying for me since 6 a.m. My wife only managed to stop the crying by playing a video recording of me reading The Incredible Story of the Giant Pier, which I had recorded and filmed the book with my video camera and made it for her so she would have it for exactly these moments. I knew my daughter's sadness because I felt it too, like an icy hand around my heart. This can't go on, I thought. There has to be another way. In the pre-dawn dark of my hotel room, my tears mixed with snot and made my mustache droop. I turned on the kettle and realized I only had decaffeinated sachets of coffee left. I went over to my computer, opened it, flicked through my emails, and there was an email. A very special email from a man I had worked for many times in the past. I opened it. It was an invitation. And with the blue light from the little kettle illuminating the dark, I contemplated Goethe's Faust, who had made a deal with the devil, and I scrolled through the terms and agreements of my own deal with the Showbiz Devil, studying the legalese of the contractual obligation of this invisible agreement. I found a loophole. The Devil's Playground, mentioned in the email. It's the place that the Showbiz Devil forgot in his terms and agreements. A place where the fun never ends, where slot machines are plentiful and shows have more glitz and glamour than any international arts festival. Sin City, fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. The Las Vegas Strip is like an enormous cruise ship that's stranded in the desert. It's got all-you-can-eat buffets, Ferris wheels, pirate ships, and circus. Lots of it. This desert shipwreck is so big and so amazing that people come from all over the world to see it. Crowds fly in from every corner of the globe. It's a place where crowds come and go, and novelty acts like mine can stay. In the dark, I say yes to the invitation in my inbox. Vegas, a place along the way to settle down, where my girl can go to school, where we can live in a house, maybe not as nice as our own, in the Shire, but where I can put my daughter to bed and then jump in the car and drive 15 minutes to the Strip, the shipwrecked cruise ship, where I, Captain Frodo, can be captain of the greatest and most influential ship of all time, the Showman ship. And simultaneously, I can also be a present dad and husband. In the dark of my hotel room, I whisper to myself, Vegas, here we come. And now the second of the two shorter essays. This is called Time Travel. It's set in the end of a longer tour. I have moved to Las Vegas in the meantime, and I am now on my way back. Here it goes. Time travel. I sit at a small airport in Denmark, awaiting the first of 2 flights to Las Vegas. I have just finished my first tour as circus director of a brand new, tiny, family-based circus. The way here began 2 years ago. Let me tell you the tale. In 2016, during my second 5-month stint with Circus Nemo, which is an amazing Danish show run by and starring as main attraction Søren Østergaard, a knighted clown and circus director. Yes, there is such a thing. He told me he wanted to make a new circus. Circus Nemo is a show for adults, and a new circus would be for family audiences. Søren asked me if I knew anyone who could maybe be at the helm of such a project. I suggested Tom Flanagan or maybe even the Pitts Family Circus. But towards the end of the season, Søren Østergaard said, "Can't you do it?" I said, "Of course." After a couple of decades of performing for adults and becoming a dad, thusly getting reacquainted with the joy of properly interacting with children, it was time to inspire good times in the future of humanity. Time to bring illuminated showmanship to the world of children. The family circus would happen in 2018, he said. 2 years is a long time. It used to be an eternity. I mean, when I first started out performing, I performed in children's shows. I mean, I was barely far from being a child myself, being 10 years old when I did the first shows together with my dad. But it had been a very long time since I took to the stage as a children's performer. A time is a way to denote changes in space. A seed falls, sprouts, becomes a flower, and wilts. These changes exist in 3 dimensions and happens in sequence. They exist in space and happen in time. To prepare for the future gig, I created Captain Frodo's Magic Circus, a magic-based circus show with a heavy emphasis on play and imagination. The time frame of this spins me out. In 1997, I used to think deciding whether or not to do a street show on the weekend was pushing the limits of future planning. Then again, when you sport a yellow mohawk and juggle to support yourself, Sex Pistols' words ring true. No future for you. Contrary to the punk poet's proclamation, there was a future for me, and this future is now my family. I aim to travel into the future with my family. I am the sole breadwinner of my family, always being on the road and doing shows at night. My wife has to do the important work, being with our daughter. Someone smarter than me said that if you fail at raising your child, nothing else you succeed at matters much. Many of the most important things don't pay, even though the responsibility is priceless. My daughter needs to start school. The benefits of doing this at the age of 6 is something I am dubious of. The importance of spending time with lots of kids your own age over an extended period of time I am not dubious about. To make this happen, we had chosen a magical place in the Byron Shire in Australia. I still can't get over the fact that I would then have become Frodo of the Shire. I am a Tolkien fan, even though my name is not quite connected to those books. Anyway, we bought a house, a beautiful space. Against all odds, we managed to get my daughter into a fantastic Steiner school with massive waiting lists. My daughter speaks Norwegian and English, and to add to the improbably good fit for us, there were 2 other girls in her class that also had one Norwegian parent. 3 kids, bilingual in English and Norwegian. What are the chances? This place was perfect for us. It was meant to be, we thought. I performed and worked on my magic circus in my magic room in Byronshire, and it would become my new meal ticket, but any new project takes time to become financially viable. The Danish gig was still 1 year away. This new circus project with Circus Nemo was the very reason and the very impetus to creating a show. What a timeline. 2 years. Now, 1 year left before showtime in Denmark. If you contact your financial advisor and say, I'm buying a house, renovating it, and also I am going to be working less to spend more time with my family, they will most likely advise you against it. I don't have a financial advisor, so I did exactly that. Then, to make a point of just how bad an idea this was, the Australian tax office slapped me with a big tax bill, twice, within 1 month, which, according to my accountant, they could legally do. It turned out this space, this house, wasn't meant to be. I couldn't afford to live in my new house. I couldn't make it happen. Our beautiful space, I just couldn't provide it. This hit me hard. Harder than I realized at the time. I had failed. Failed as a provider and as a father. Yet again I had to take my daughter away from her newfound group of friends. A failure to provide hurts on an almost biological level. The way of the showman winds through space. I'm not captain of its every bend and direction. It goes and goes, always onwards, until now at least. It's a beast that's difficult to tame, but I am doing my damnedest. Will I be able to fulfill my obligation this time? Provide stability? Fingers crossed for a lasting home, with friends aplenty for the little one, and a nice pool, surrounded by palms and pomegranate trees, where my beautiful and resourceful wife can sip Aperol Spritz and perusing the catalogue of courses provided by the University of Las Vegas. I am on the second plane to Las Vegas right now. 7 hours to landing. I left Monday morning from Denmark. The same morning my daughter had her first day of school in a brand new Steiner school in the desert, and my wife is out looking for our next dream home. At 1,000 kilometers an hour, I am on my way home. Isn't it just amazing how history repeats itself, how our own life and the events and episodes in it spiral around like the seasons of the year. Each day is brand new, yet it carries with it the fruitions of the seeds planted before. The things that have happened before is mirroring themselves in a brand new way, right as we speak. Although this pandemic thrown into it all is quite different, but even as we were in Las Vegas and we were aiming to be there for a very long time, and whenever you plan anything, the world starts throwing something at it, and we were so certain we were going to stay in one place that we got a dog, and I was so uncertain as to whether we should get a dog. But the arguments that I had previously used for not having a pet just didn't seem valid anymore. I couldn't quite tell what is it that could go wrong now. And then the pandemic made fools of us all, and we had to give away the family dog. Hopefully we will get the dog back when we return, if the world ever returns, and if the shows ever return in Las Vegas in any meaningful way in the near future, distant future, who knows. For now, I will keep putting out these episodes. This is episode 7. There are 3 more to come. And if you know anyone that you think would benefit from or enjoy these podcasts, please tell your friends. You are the best advertisement for this. I will try to get better at spreading the word myself. I am thinking of getting an Instagram account. Apparently that is a very good way to go. But if you enjoy it, please share it. Share a review on iTunes or anywhere else. And we will keep growing this steadily growing little community of fellow travelers. I also have a website, thewayoftheshowman.com. Currently this website is, I'm just posting the essays more or less as they are, but that could be useful, of course, if you ever, like myself, am doing any writing and you want to take any quotes or whatever and use it in something that you want to do, or you want to post a little example. If you want to make a post about this podcast and you want to share a little passage, they're all available there on thewayoftheshowman.com. But I'm also hoping to develop that now that season 1 in the next month will come to an end. I'm hoping to start a new project, share a little bit of a craft journal of what's going on in me trying to reimagine myself for this brand new time. I also have started to do a little bit of show notes. I've added some links to the things that I talked about. A friend from Portugal, Pedro Tocas, called up and said that's a good idea, and of course it is, and I will try to get better at that as well. But with all that said, all that's left to be said is take care of yourself and those you love, and I hope to see you all along the way.